Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Xah Talk Show. We are going to code Emacs Lisp today. So this keyboard is Ultimate Hacking Keyboard 80, UHK80. Fantastic. Okay, I did a review last week. So check out on my YouTube in-depth review. And now let's code Emacs Lisp. There are two things I want to do. So one is write a Emacs Lisp command that moves the current file or current directory into the parent directory. So I just press a key and it'll move, because otherwise I have to split the window. Let's say I want to move the Pascal's theorem. Okay, not Pascal's theorem. Let's say AI morality. Okay, AI morality. This is a podcast. This is 2 years ago, 2023. It's showing, it's aged because AI is changing every day. But anyway, I was talking about AGI, artificial general intelligence, strong AI, sentient AI, and AI alignment, which is a code word for some kind of ethics of AI, stupid by the Western society's thinking. So anyway, this is aged, but I think my central point still stands, still good today. So anyway, so there's this file. I want to move it to the parent directory. So normally you split the window, then you go up one directory. So that's correct. So you go up one directory, then you press Shift R to move. Then you just say okay. Then you see now it's moved there. Now if you want to move it back, Shift R, then do it. You see now wait, override what? No, let's do it. What? Which did I move? Oh, we moved Pascal's theorem instead. So let's move it back. So Shift R, do it. So now it's back. You see, so move the current file or directory to the parent directory by just pressing one key. That's what we're gonna write. Now the other thing, if we have time, is let's see, Xah HTML icon linkify. So that is creating a link with the icon. We'll talk about that when we are there. Hello, aspiring window composer. Are you the combinatorics guy who is gonna study combinatorics? Hi. So close that. So okay, so close that. Show in browser. So we're gonna write that. Okay. So this is for you Emacs Lisp coders, and play at 1.5 speed. And if you are here, say hi. Okay. Let's begin coding. Let's not waste time. Let's begin coding. So pink window shows all my Emacs command course name and the keystroke on the left. I'm using a Aurora keyboard, and I'm using Xah keys, the most efficient key binding for Emacs, more efficient than Vim or VI, okay, or NeoVim. Okay, so let's start Emacs Lisp code, pop it out. So what we want to write, move to parent, okay, okay. So define the name Xah move to parent, something like that. Okay, so let's key that's the key. Okay, so that. So today's date, created, version number, give today's date, and let's just write it. So the first thing you want to do, so in the add, right now we are looking at what's called diode. Let's delete all the backup. Let's not worry about that. Okay, everything is good. That's me. Hello, GCS. Yes, that's me. Also, Birkenshire. Yeah, I know. Birkenshire. We are debating about kind of the ethics of software license. a lot of fans, they are in, they like open source or free software foundation. Anyway, that topic I talked about 1,000 times, especially in the early years. So I talked about like 1 hour 1,000 times. So anyway, and basically I think open source and free software foundation, okay, let me do 1 minute summary of my view. Okay, Richard Stallman, the guy who created Emacs, he started Free Software Foundation back in 1980s as a legal organization because, in his opinion, he has an ideology. He believes that software, whenever you write software, the source code, like what we are writing today, it must be shared. Okay, it must be. It's ethical. If you do not share your source code, he consider you to be a bad person. In fact, to the degree that if you don't share your source code, then you cannot make money. You'll go hunger. Your family will not be able to survive. He still says you still need to share the source code. Okay. Anyway, that's Richard Stallman. So in 1980s, he began the Free Software Foundation, and with it is the so-called GPL, General Public License, which is a license that legally says that whatever software you write, you cannot hide the source code. You must share the source code if you use whatever software he wrote. So anyway, then in 1997, about that there, Eric Raymond, known as ESR, and another guy, I think Bruce Perrin, and maybe another guy, they started a open source foundation, okay, which is a spin-off or splinter group from the Free Software Foundation. Because back then they believe that Richard Stallman, his moral, ethical stance is too strong, that the commercial software world don't like that, have a problem. So they started the thought, let's remove the ethical elements. Let's remove the moral elements. All we ask is that software must come with a source code, but let's not focus on about whether that, this is ethical, which is kind of communist ideology. Okay, so Free Software Foundation of Richard Stallman is essentially a communist ideology, because you must share everything. You cannot keep it to yourself. You must share. So anyway, then the open source foundation group people came up. They are not that good. Okay, they are kind of like a thief. They stole the idea, and anyway, so this is 1997. And Eric Raymond, one of the guy who found it, is kind of a very asshole. Okay, he's an asshole, aggressive, racist asshole. ESR. His name is Eric Raymond or something. Okay, you can ESR. You can look up ESR and Richard Stallman RMS. You look up, you'll see their name. They are very popular, but today, both of them are little known by today's generation, Zoomers. Okay, but they founded the open source. Richard Stallman founded the Free Software Foundation, and in 1997, the Open Source Foundation was created, and they are at war. Richard Stallman do not like the open source people. He think they are fuckheads, basically. Okay, so they are at war. Today, people don't know you guys, younger people, open source idiots. Okay, so that's back then. And then, fast forward to today, after 20 years of open source movement, or after 30 years of Free Software Foundation movement, both of them pretty much died. Today, the Richard Stallman Free Software Foundation basically died. Nobody know who the fuck he is, okay? And he became this, he's became this guru, kind of fat and unkempt and, picking his feet in public and eat it, not a good, leader quality. He became that sort, and he got all sort of problems. He's not doing that. In my opinion, he's not contributing to society that much. Even for contributing to his own Free Software Foundation, he became kind of a damaging figure, Richard Stallman. That's on one hand. And today nobody knows because the entire open source has been taken over by the deep state. What does that mean, deep state? Deep state means kind of a certain group of people. They want to do war. They are associated tightly with the military complex, making missiles, Let's not get too far into that. Okay, so we have Ukraine war 3 years ago or 4, and then there's another, let's not mention the name, going pretty bad. And before that, there's Afghanistan, Iraq, and all that, and right now, currently, Trump is doing Venezuela. Okay, so this people is so-called deep state in USA. They do wars. What for? Well, so they become richer and richer. And we American citizens become poor and poor, as most of you know, the state of USA today. Okay, so open source got taken over by deep state. Deep state is not just, they have like massive branches, universities, they're like non-profit organizations. So taken over by Google, Facebook, by and then Microsoft, So today open source is basically 99.9 entirely funded by these commercial, greedy organizations such as Google and Facebook. They are very greedy. They have 1,000 lawyers. They have 1,000 patents, okay? And their software is proprietary. Like some of it is like open source, but the real Google Chrome browser is proprietary, okay? You idiots, go use Google Chrome. What's a Chromium? That I choose to use the open source one. When it comes to VS Code, I use VS Code Vinium because that one is open source. These kind of idiots, that's you guys brainwashed. You don't know a thing. So anyway, the open source movement has been basically taken over by the deep state, fully funded by the deep state, fully controlled in every way by the deep state. Like the GitHub you use, you love the open source, your entire repository is bought by Microsoft. And the open source idiots, oh God, GitHub got bought by open source. Let's switch to the, GitFox or whatever, like every few years they do that. Before that, there's an example of the Star Office, the open source word processor, then it became switch, it became something. And before that, there is also the story of what so many, like all the database, the MySQL, open source. Then it got bought by Oracle. Then let's switch, let's use what's the other, like Miranda database, whatever. And this happens, this happens all the time, because if you are today, like if you are a big open source fanatic, everything you do must be open source, you are ethical. But tomorrow, Microsoft comes to your door, hey, we got this $1 million, we don't have much use of it. Would you like, we give it $1 million to you and you sell us your fantastic open source, we'll keep it open source. And you're gonna say, oh yeah, yes. And you become you sell out. That happens to everyone, essentially. Money. Okay, like every fuckhead, including, then a few years ago, the Linus Torvald, he got bought out. So how is open source being taken over? Look at code of conduct. Do you accept that men and women are the same? Do you accept that men can get pregnant? Do you accept that we are going to put a tampon in men's bathroom? Okay, you have a choice. If you say no, you'll be canceled. That's code of conduct, which today is in every software, in every major, known open source software, code of conduct. Okay, is this code of conduct, created by Richard Stallman? No. Is it created by Eric Raymond, the guy who started open source? No. In fact, they are against it. Okay, but they have no choice. They have no say. You fucking idiots. You younger generation idiots. Okay, then because I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking, because you are thinking open source. We must be open source. There are so many advantages. If a corporation dies, the source still there, so we can fork it and blah blah blah. But the reality is, look at what's going on in the society we live in. You become puny nothing. You survive by becoming a non. You go to online social network, you are a non. You don't dare to have a name. Then you post memes. You chirp a little opinion about how things should be open source. That's the state you are in. You have no idea what's going on. Okay, so open source being taken over, 100% funded by the big greedy 1,000 lawyers, corporations, and proprietary, and 1,000 patents and whatever trademarks. Okay, including Firefox. Like, you guys don't know a thing. In Firefox, they give their money to Antifa. The Black Lives Matters, burning buildings across USA major cities that burn alive many people. Remember? You probably don't. But anyway. So open source being taken over, and if you are a coder, there's nothing you can do. If you are, you decided not to work for Google or whatever, you try to make a living by yourself, you can't, because Google, they hire, they have minions or these coders who take money from Google every month, a lot. Like if you work in Silicon Valley here, every month you got like more than 10,000 minimum if you are a software engineer. But you accept men can get pregnant. You cannot say anything to that. Then at night you churn out open source code. You tell everyone, you pretend open source is good thing. You take the money from Google, proprietary, nothing you can do. Then at night you churn out open source code. Oh, I code this for hobby. Look at my GitHub or whatever. These scums. They don't even know it. So if you are fired from Google, if you dare to say, no, men cannot get pregnant, what a fucking idiocy is that? You get canceled. And you cannot make money, because whatever you write, there's already a million open source ones. And nobody, like you people, like whenever you have a closed source, you refuse to use it. Like you don't want it. Because you think, oh, that's not open source. No. So in summary, so Richard Stallman, his idea, his kind of communist ideology about the software, about sharing or code, is not necessarily a bad one. Okay. Because before Richard Stallman was born, we share software. We, typically people, nerds, scientists, we just share our code. We share our code without, like I shared my code in the 1990s written in Wolfram language. This code, feel free to use it. By the way, I don't have any legal responsibilities if it doesn't work, but otherwise feel free to use it. That was my license back in the 90s, okay, and lots of others. You don't need you need a license. It's so funny, in the past 20 years, you have license wars, MIT license, artistic license, Apache license, GPL2, GPL3. Which one is better? Let's argue. Endless argument, these fucking idiots. And then, okay, so Richard Stallman, his ideology of kind of communist ideology on software to share, you must share, is one of the opinion. It's not too bad, okay? But it's not freedom. It's not freedom. Richard Stallman, by the way, also abused the word free, because his Free Software Foundation, when he says free software, what he means is that software according to his ideology. It does not mean the software is free, like you can give it to me free. Nor does it mean freedom, okay? Because freedom means I can do whatever I want with my software. I have the freedom to release it as open source or not. It is my freedom. And you have the freedom to choose what software you want to use. If this does not come with source code, you have the freedom to not use it. You have the freedom to use only software that's come with source code, if you want it that way. Okay, so in my opinion, Richard Stallman's ideology is not necessarily good, nor is it necessarily bad. It's just one of the many freedom opinions in society. Okay, you can believe whichever you want. And Richard Stallman is not a bad person. He's relatively pretty much an honest guy and not too greedy guy. Okay. So, but anyway, he started this ideology, and then it got taken over by the open source people. Then they got taken over by the deep state. And the consequence is pretty bad today. Pretty bad. Like you cower in your little hole and no power to do anything. Deep state control everything. So that's one thing. The other thing is that, so what should be better, in my opinion? What is better, okay? If you have a software that does not have the source code, then how can I trust it? That's your question, right? How do I know? Like I sell you my software, but it's closed source. You pay me $100, you get it, and I don't give you the source code. How do you know my software is not looking under your skirts? How do you know? Here's the answer. In human-animal society, what do you do with thieves or robbers? You cut their hands off. Then you will not have thieves. Okay? So Google, are you gonna sniff, have backdoor or whatever? Go to jail. We have law in America. America is a country by law. Do you guys understand? You go to jail. You don't scam $1 million or do whatever, like today, the Google, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg and whatever. They can, they can do almost anything they want. Okay, that is my story. So that is my opinion. So basically, law and order. We don't need open source. Most people cannot, they are not coders. You have to think about other people, not just yourself. You are a coder, so I can use Linux. I can do DNS, so I don't have, I don't see the scams or whatever. Xah, why don't you use Linux? These fuckheads. Okay. Most people are not coders. It's not just about you. So you think about, the society, you want law and order. People can buy software or free, without source code. Most people don't read it, unable to understand it, to make any use of it anyway. But if there's a crime, if they did something nasty in their software, like stealing your password or sharing your bedroom photos or your privacy, whatever, they go to jail. People will know. Okay, it's not like nobody can find out. We have lots of people, like you guys, security, you are studying security or whatever, cyber security, it becomes a profession by itself today because it's so bad. You plug in a USB and you don't know what there's no, the USB just, you plugged in a virus. That's all the situation. That's what happened. That's what you guys get. Like you have no power. There's nothing you can do. And then there's today's crypto scams all over. Like you go down on Twitter, like every account is crypto scam. Why does that happen? In part, because you open source fuckheads. You want force, like you have like you think you have, you by mob force, you force these corporations to release open source. All code must be open source. Instead, they went to the cloud. That's another reason cloud become popular. Instead of storing your information in your computer, they store it on their computer, and they call it cloud computing, cloud servers. All of a sudden, that took off. Why, like, for example, Twitter. Why can't I, everything I browse, why is it on my, all the posts I posted, why is it not on my disk? They can easily do that. But so many ways, but you just you don't see it. You can't. You don't get your own data. A few years ago, they have like project gonna release Twitter, but actually, if you actually download that, they give you bullshit. Like cryptic, complex, like you cannot view your own post, things like that. Similarly, today for Gmail, like 10 years ago, there's still some good people at Google's that created a project you can download your own email or whatever. Today it's like all rotten. It's like it become worse and worse. Okay. So where was I? So I was saying so the situation is pretty bad, and in software that's in large part because of the open source fuckheads. Okay, let me read the comments, and I think that's it for today. We're not gonna code this. Okay, because coding is boring. Okay, so put this back. Let me just read the comment, and today is gonna be a independent complete rant on the open source fuckheads, because this comes up every like all the time. I already talked about it 1,000 times. So let me address all your questions, all your opinions. You think I'm incorrect, post it now. Let me address them. Okay. Someone mistakenly referred to Richard Stallman as father of open source. And Richard Stallman replied, if I'm father of open source, it's created from artificial insemination using stolen sperm. Yeah. That he said that. And there's another video that someone, invited him to speak. And the introducer, the guy introducing Richard Stallman in the beginning, says something about, thank you so much, Richard Stallman, for your contribution to open source. And then Richard Stallman got very angry. It's a video. I probably have it on my website. Actually, I collected some of them. So xahlee.info, no S in HTTP, okay? Because Google, today's browser, they become so nasty. Let me mention this another thing, okay? They become so nasty. Like if you go to your settings, there is one option. Do you want automatic HTTPS? Okay, I demonstrated this before this year. Okay, so there is a HTTPS. Okay, privacy and security, passwords, whatever, payment methods, address, history, permissions, file collection, use, security, HTTPS only mode. Okay, they give you an option. Don't enable HTTPS only mode. So, however, starting about 3 months ago, they ignore this. They ignore this personal preference, an explicit setting. They ignore it. They're gonna add S anyway. There's deep scum and scams like you people don't know. And by this, so they basically Google, Firefox, they basically now kind of semi-enforce the HTTPS. So, but that means they instantaneously censor 20 million websites. Because I checked with Grok, I also have it on my website, this article. I talked about this many times. But anyway, so there are 20 million websites that doesn't have HTTPS. But basically, they are instantaneously censored. Who are these websites? These are typically old websites. They talk about things like the history of internet, in the 1990s, in the year 2000s, and even in year 2010s. Okay, all this website history, they talk about things happening at those times. They are all gone, instantaneously wiped out by this, HTTPS scums. In theory, the Google and you guys idiots who got brainwashed is that, oh yeah, we should have HTTPS because it's safer. I want my data encrypted. You want your data encrypted. Do you use a phone? Every single thing you do, every photo you take is, Apple and Google are sniffing it. What the fuck with your encryption, do you use a phone? Everything, every movement, where you are, where you slept, on what date, what time you spend where, and whatever photos you taken is known by Google and Apple. Okay? But then you care about, but I don't want my, which website I visit to be known by others because they are hackers. Fucking idiots. Every website you visit is known by Google and Apple. Okay? Every. And this HTTPS, originally it is meant for if you are doing credit card. If you go to Amazon, do some shopping, then you need HTTPS because otherwise the credit card information is easily sniffed by hackers, potential hackers. Okay, so if you post your credit card, to some website, then you need that. But otherwise, if you just want songs, but you guys, okay, you're today's generation, those who follow me, these idiots, tech nerds, idiots, they got brainwashed. They don't know what is what. So when they see this, when I tell them the fact that Firefox and Google blatantly ignore an explicit setting, their reaction is like, oh, well, that's bad and that's interesting, but Xah, you need to get your website to HTTPS. They still, they like their brain is already twisted. They don't know what they're doing. So that's a bad situation. So that's one of the example. One of the hundreds of example. So let's look up, so I have actually documentation of Google crimes. So you can look the documentation of all the things happened. I started this only starting around 2010. So you can kind of see all the history. But remember, Google, with this HTTPS enforced, basically insta censor 20 million websites. It's already bad enough because today, the internet in the past 20 years ago is supposed to be so many websites you visit, but today your whole life is just 10 websites. You don't know what other website. Your whole life is just Twitter, Facebook, Google, like YouTube and few other, Tube or, like 20 websites. You fucking idiots. Okay, I think that's about it. So let me answer the questions. Whoo! Oh my God, $100. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so let me see if there's any questions, and that's it. So, by the way, Richard Stallman has been struggling with cancer. Yes. Oh, yeah. So that reminds me, I wanted to show some Richard Stallman pages I have. So anyway, Google Crimes Index. So that's worth going through. Okay. So let me post to today's talk show. Let's not write let's not write code that. So let's delete. So Google Crimes. So when you have time, you can feel free to check this out. Google, so many. Let me mention one more, okay? Anti-ad block, yeah. So let me mention one more. The deep state, okay? The meaning of deep state. What the fucking scam they are doing. Some of them are actually legal. Like, for example, Google has been sued for the Google APM scam. But APM is a technology like new web, new HTML, supposedly to make your website faster. But in fact, it's a plot to entrap all publishers. So every publishing must be done via Google. Like you guys don't know, and this is like public. This Google has been sued for this, so you can read the details. Okay, Google AMP lawsuit. Okay, and lots of, but and sabotage Firefox, and in fact, actually, Google sponsor Firefox. Firefox is alive today because of Google. Because Google is secret. Google doesn't want Firefox to die. Okay, like you guys don't know, because if Firefox dies, then Google become monopoly, and then so. Google wants Firefox to be alive, so they kind of fund Firefox, okay? And Firefox give money to Antifa. So let me mention another, one thing I want to mention. And Google censorship, white couples, that's all news. So, so many, okay, so many, these fucking crimes. Like, but we don't know, like when it happens, oh, it's big news, but by tomorrow you forgot. But because the open source idiots, the open source fuckheads. Now, if you are, not fanatic, then you are fine. But those fanatics, you can't blame them because they are young. They don't know shit. Just like I was young 30 years ago. Back in year 2000, I was a big fanatic for Richard Stallman and Free Software Foundation. You can see, I can show you my articles. I talked about this in my live stream before, so let's not do that. So, but anyway, so I want to just show you one thing, okay? It's about YouTube. Google removed the likes and dislikes on YouTube. Like it became unpublic. That's a big thing. It's where is it? Let's search YouTube. Remove short video. That's another thing. They restored it back. And here, Google YouTube hide dislike 2021. Why did they do that? Because whenever the USA government, such as Biden, when they post, when they have a video, then you got 1 million dislikes. You got 10 likes, but 1 million dislike for any for this, for example, for this her scum. Like whenever she talks, like 1 million dislike. The fucking Google. People can see. We got eyes. We can see. We don't want your crimes. But then Google decide, oh, that looks bad. Oh, let's hide. Let's hide the dislike. To this day, this is still the situation. Imagine the like and dislike. Do you know the history of the like and dislike? It began by Facebook scum. That's another story. It's a psychological control. So you want your post to be liked. So you got glued to social networks. You post, you see someone like it. Oh, who is the guy who liked my stuff? Oh God. Then it started to change your behavior, because you started to write in a way you get more likes. You forgot about your brain. Okay, that's a specifically psychological control created by Mark Zuckerberg of the Facebook scum. Then it spread to all other websites, YouTube, Reddit, Hacker News, or whatever, because that gets people glued to your site. You got more traffic, you got more money. You fucking Zoomer idiots. Okay, then so you got likes, then the way they say it is like, you can, if you are a YouTube creator, you can see how many, people like your stuff, or maybe they don't like it. So you can adjust, you can make more money, it's also good and happy. But then this happened. Oh, we decided to hide the like, and they have good reason. They tell you why. Google's official announcement on removing dislike. Why? Why are we decided to remove it? Look at these pretty boys, fuckface, pretty white face, pretty boys. They go on stage, Google I/O conference yearly. They tell you good things. We're gonna save Africa. Our goal at Google is to save Africa and help women. This fuckface. Why they tell you why they decided to remove dislike? Oh, because that way we can help women and children in Africa. Fuck them. And to this day, it still happens. But you guys, you guys, or those who live on Twitter or whatever, like, you don't know a thing. You happy? You go on with your lives. Being a nun and all that. Okay, that's about Google. Okay, so now let's go search. So copy that. Okay, now let's go search for Richard Stallman. I got lots of articles. Okay, so on Richard Stallman. So Richard Stallman, abuse of the word freedom. You see, his idea of freedom, his use of the word freedom is his ideology of freedom, not the common people's freedom about software. Freedom is what I can do whatever I want, as long as I don't fuck you up. That's freedom. That's free trade. Okay? His idea of freedom is that you must do something to your software, like share it. You cannot own. Fuck Richard Stallman. But overall, he's not a too bad guy. Okay, so but anyway, so let's go to one of the article on Richard Stallman. So there's fun, there's fun things, there's bad things. Okay, so let's, for example, this Richard Stallman, when he's younger, and I have a collection of his Emacs fun. Okay, so let's go to Emacs, my Emacs homepage. Then let's go to Emacs Lisp tutorial, Xah packages, miscellaneous technical essays miscellaneous index there. Emacs controversy index, open that. Okay, Emacs controversy index, open that. There it is. Okay, Richard Stallman got cancer 2023. Okay, he got cancer. So history of Lisp. Richard Stallman stole Emacs source code from James Gosling. That's kind of controversial, but to some degree that's true. But it's controversial. It's there's no. I don't think there's a correct answer. It's just history. Okay. So go back to controversies. Richard Stallman resigned from Free Software Foundation. Why? Because he got forced. He got forced by the social justice warriors, deep state fuckfaces. Okay, and you guys don't dare to say a thing. You open source fanatics don't dare to say a thing. You can all you can do is remain quiet and anon. But I said something here. I collected all the fuck faces, here. Okay, this fucking women, Salam G, she kind of began. Richard Stallman got kicked out from his own foundation, Free Software Foundation, 2019. Then Richard Stallman at Microsoft. That's okay. So there's Anyway, so here's a collection of the articles about Richard Stallman. Okay, so overall, I don't think he's a bad person in society, but however, his movement, which got taken over by open source, which got taken over by the deep state, and has a huge negative consequence in society. Okay, that's it. So let's see any more questions. I'm gonna answer that, and that's it. HTTPS more secure? Yes, of course it is. Here's a bribe for you not to call us false people idiots for at least a week. Okay. It's not dollars, Xah. It's Indian rupees. I'm not that rich yet. Sorry to disappoint you. Okay. Oh, fuck, Indian rupees. Oh, fuck, I thought it's pounds. Shit. Okay. So, Xah, I hope you're having a good day. Dosimer Bellum, a long time no see, I think. Ever speak about the Fediverse and all the alternative copycat platforms? Alternative Reddit or alternative Twitter? Yeah, of course, I know that, but that doesn't work. That's, that's one of the, idiotic things the nerds do. Like we're gonna start an open source, little project here. You can see it over the past 20 years. Okay, there's lots of it come and go. Like they amount to nothing. These nerds, they think they're gonna create a they don't know society. They don't know how society works. They are unable to talk. They cannot function socially. So what they can do is they know code. So their idea of fixing society is to create like these projects, like a new browser, new open source browser, or new MySQL database, or new whatever open, that's what they do. But they don't understand how society works. That is the reason we got into this bad state. Okay, this little project, that doesn't, worth a flying fart. There's no impact to society, except just you little nerds, like 10 of them, 10 of you. Like, we're gonna do this Emacs, that's what happens. So yeah, so those, if you want to fix society, it's not about technology. Okay, technology, like you are thinking, technology war, you get technological escalation. You got honeypots, you got spam bots, you got like filters, you got Bayesian filters, you got like, this trick or DNS rewrite or whatever you can do. But on the other hand, they got spam farm, they got, what you get into is a technological escalation, like Rob versus cops. And so what you should do, if you want to fix society, you need to fix human. Okay, it's not whatever technology you can do, it's the human. You want to get whoever Google who is doing nasty things, you want to get them in jail. Okay, not by diddling with your fucking software. Okay, fucking shit. This turned out into a rant, and okay, that's it for it. Bye, guys. Any more questions? Okay, one more minute, then I'm gonna shut down. Bye, guys. Let's see. Is there anything else? I think that's it. Bye.